Hi, and welcome back to the Hippie Martha Hormone Hour. I'm Ashley, your host. And if you listened to the last episode, you know that we started to unpack what perimenopause actually is and what it isn't. And today I want to bring this into real life because I feel that our stories are just as impactful as education. And I think that we can all connect with one another on some level of whether it's a symptom that we've experienced or just the age. I know I talked about 35, like what the heck? It's like this weird witching age. This is definitely something to take a step back, look at the big picture, and really kind of put your learning goggles on, but also just question what is actually happening. Because at 35, I literally thought my body was breaking. I went into the doctor feeling like something was off. My cycles weren't right, basically because I was on a hormonal birth control. I thought I was ovulating, but I was not. My energy was low. I didn't feel like myself. And I think a lot of women like myself just don't know where to start. And I assumed that, this must all just be due to hormones. So what did I do? I had my hormones tested. Guess what? Everything looked normal. And then I, went to the doctor again. Okay, well, this must just be perimenopause. And this is my body aging. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. But looking back, I was only seeing a small piece of the picture. I wasn't looking at the whole big picture, nor were my healthcare providers. Because here's what was actually going on in my body. When I was 35, I had just quit my job with the hospital, working as a labor and delivery nurse. I was very unhappy in my marriage. I knew something was off, but I didn't know what. And I kept being told that everything was fine until I joined a fertility awareness program. It was a 2-year program, and I really found myself through that program and understood what was going on in my body. I was able to kind of look for help in other ways through body literacy. So in the beginning, I didn't realize that, first off, I was on the edge of hypothyroidism. I had severe gut dysbiosis. I was diagnosed with SIBO and H. pylori. I had PCOS after coming off an IUD hormonal birth control, which, by the way, took 2 providers to remove, and it prolonged my removal because they couldn't get it out. I was dealing with insulin resistance. I was diagnosed with a fatty liver. I was completely burnt out. And of course, after I had my IUD removed, I wasn't ovulating at all. When I'm able to look retrospectively at all of that, it was not just my hormones. Our hormones are the last thing to respond. And I think I've talked about this in past podcasts where it's the bottom of the waterfall, okay? Everything upstream or upriver is kind of what leads down into the crash of your hormones, but it's not actually the hormones' fault. It's what's upriver. Once again, like I said, thyroid issues, gut, insulin resistance, liver issues, right? All of those issues play a huge role into the way I am using my hormones, utilizing my hormones, and metabolizing my hormones. It was my body asking for help in multiple ways just at once at that lovely golden age of 35. And so this is where, when I started my fertility awareness program, this is where everything started to shift for me. Because instead of continuing to guess, I finally started paying attention and learning how to read my body. Using fertility awareness, I started charting my cycles. And I know for some people that sounds so strange because me personally, I thought charting your cycles was just for trying to get pregnant and not for people in midlife. But I am telling you right now, it gave me more clarity than any lab test or doctor visit ever had. When I started charting my cycles, I could see, one, if I was ovulating or not. I understood how my hormones were functioning. I could see where the imbalances were happening. And I also recognized that besides the blood testing, that my thyroid truly needed support. And so instead of testing everything randomly, I was able to test with intention. And from there, I did the work. Nothing came overnight. Nothing was perfect, but I tried to stay as consistent as I could. I focused on blood sugar regulation, gut healing, nervous system support, rest, setting boundaries, and actually nourishing my body. And here's the part that I really want you to hear. I feel better at 41 than I did at 35. Not because I fixed my hormones, but because I understood my body and I was able to work with not only find a provider that helped me, but work with my cycles to get everything kind of back on track. Now, are my cycles exactly the same as they were in my 20s? Heck no, but they're not supposed to be, because part of this transition is actually rooted in something very biological: how our ovaries age over time. At birth, we're born with about 1 to 2 million eggs. By puberty, that drops around 300 to 500,000 eggs, or more so, follicles, I should say. And by our late 30s and 40s, we're down to a much smaller percentage, closer to about 10%, and even lower approach 40. And here's something most people don't realize. We don't just lose one egg per cycle. Each month, your body recruits thousands of follicles, and only one becomes the dominant egg that ovulates. The rest reabsorbed by the body. So over time, that reserve naturally declines, not because something is wrong, but because this is how our body is designed. Now, as we enter perimenopause, we start to reach a lower threshold of available follicles. And this is where things start to feel unpredictable. I hear this all the time with women in late 30s and 40s. Nothing feels predictable because your brain and your ovaries are constantly communicating through hormones, mainly estrogen, FSH, and LH. When there are fewer responsive follicles, estrogen production becomes less consistent. So what does our brain do? It starts sending stronger signals. It pushes for more FSH and LH, trying to stimulate ovulation. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. This is why in perimenopause, you might notice earlier ovulation, delayed ovulation, or cycles where ovulation doesn't happen at all. And you can go months without a period or a true period. And alongside that, estrogen levels can rise and fall more dramatically. This is what's often referred to as that chaotic phase. This is not your body falling apart. This is your body adapting. And when you understand that this is a natural shift in communication between the brain and the ovaries, it becomes a hell of a lot less scary and a lot more something that you can actually work with instead of fear. What I have learned is this: your body is always communicating. Symptoms are not random, and healing doesn't come from guessing. It comes from understanding. In my experience, supporting those foundational lifestyle choices has been extremely helpful in supporting my cycles. There was a time where I thought I might need hormonal replacement therapy, when really I just needed to be able to metabolize my estrogen better and to work on my gut health to heal from the SIBO and H. pylori. And by doing that, I was able to not only lengthen my cycle, but also address underlying issues that I thought were hormonal related, but really were not. I think my biggest takeaway was I thought I had really low estrogen, especially I was noticing a lot of symptoms during my follicular phase. And what it turned out to be was a histamine issue. And this is a whole nother episode, but histamines in midlife pop up because of all of these other kind of issues that we've been putting off. Okay. Gut health, especially gut health and stress play a huge role in so many women's lives. I swear, between gut health, blood sugar, and stress. Those are the three main major hitters that I find working with women in their middle ages that they really struggle with. And so hopefully I can get another provider in here to kind of talk about that more. But in my own personal experience, addressing those issues has made it to where I haven't even thought about going on any hormone replacement therapy because I just don't need it. My symptoms have gone away by addressing those other issues. So if you saw yourself in any part of my story, I hope this gives you a sense of relief and hope, and also a possibility that things can change. We are the best experts of our body, even though it is helpful to have providers on our side. Hormone replacement therapy and different things don't always have to be the first place we start. And I think that was a big hit for me. I was always looking for a provider that could fix me when I was the one that could fix myself. So that being said, if you're ready to stop guessing and actually start understanding what your body is doing, this is exactly where I can support you. In this next episode, we are going to dive into one of the most confusing topics out there, which is HRT or MHRT or BHRT. We're also going to discuss birth control and how to actually make informed decisions for your body in midlife. So if you liked this podcast, be sure to share it with a friend. If it resonated with you, I would appreciate all the love and support. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.